All right, guys, there is something happening right now at the Federal Reserve that is going to be potentially so extremely bullish for Bitcoin that it makes me literally worried. I'm going to be talking here about Jerome Powell's speech and what people are not realizing what is really happening. And as well, I'm going to be talking here about this chart here as well. So first, we're going to have to dive straight into the big news. Holy moly. So this is basically what has been going on here. If you are living under a rock, then you probably don't know yet about the speech, but this speech is absolutely insane. So basically, the president wanted to lower the interest rates, but the Federal Reserve said, no, we're not going to do that. The Federal Reserve is technically independent, so it functions outside of the US government. So the Federal Reserve is supposed to just set the interest rates based on their research that they can do into the economy. Now, we all know it's all a bunch of crap and it's all a bunch of money printing in the end and running up debt, but still, it is supposed to be independent. But because Trump wanted Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates, Jerome Powell kept saying he doesn't want to do that. Now, it appears that there is a criminal indictment here for Jerome Powell straight from the president. And basically what is happening is that they were renovating this building. They were renovating these Fed buildings, and apparently it cost a lot of money. And because of that, he's basically being sued by the government, or he's going to have to show up in court here because basically they're saying that he is corrupt. And it's basically what Jerome is saying, and he's replying. He's saying like, well, guys, I'm not corrupt. This is all public. This is all transparent. What's actually really happening is that the president wants me to lower the interest rates, and he wants to control the Federal Reserve, even though that the Federal Reserve is independent. And he makes this kind of nervous video where he's pleading to the American audience and saying like, hey guys, we're supposed to be independent, but the president is going after me because I don't want to lower the interest rates, and they're gonna put me in jail, or they're gonna bring me in front of court. But that's not how it's supposed to work. So that's pretty insane that the president is going after the Fed chairman because he actually just wants the rates to be lowered, and the Fed chairman says, no, we don't want it. So that is absolutely insane. Now, why is this going to be so important? Because these institutions, they are supposed to work separately. They're not supposed to be intertwined. Now, the reason why in the West we are so rich is because we have institutions. We have a court system where you can go to. We have an institution for banking, even though it's not really that functional, but it's more functional than, let's say, the average African country or the Chinese. We have also functioning system of democracy that makes everything rule-based, that gives a rule-based playing field everybody can play in, and if you have a problem, you can go to court. In many countries, like China, it doesn't really work that way. Whatever the government says, whatever quick policy comes in, you can be screwed. So it's a lot harder to build a business in, for example, different countries, but in Western countries, we have these nice institutions. But what you're seeing now with the president is that he's kind of playing around with these institutions, and people are kind of saying he's like a Julius Caesar, where he's trying to basically control everything himself. Now, the reason, again, as I say, the reason why we're so rich in these Western countries is because we have institutions. But these institutions, they are under pressure. Now, I still would have voted on Trump over Kamala, because I think Kamala was just a puppet. I don't think she understood anything. I think she was, I think Biden was the worst thing. I don't know why they kept pushing him up. But then we got Kamala. I mean, the Democrats are completely dysfunctional. But it's, we were supposed to get a Bitcoin reserve. We didn't got that. And now he's trying to, basically trying to force the Federal Reserve through this criminal indictment to lower the interest rates, which I don't think is good. I mean, he was supposed to deport all of the illegals. He hasn't done that either. I mean, what is going to replace it? And that is only one thing, and that is Bitcoin, because it is not controlled by the state. Now, what we're seeing right now is because of this, gold is already breaking to the upside, and the DXY had a small mover to the downside. We're seeing Bitcoin again not reacting. If we go to the stocks, small move to the downside. But it seems nobody really cared. Beside gold, the people there are really understanding what is happening with the institutions. But we know already with gold is, okay, how are you going to pay anything with gold? Gold has basically been outdated for the last 100 years. It doesn't have the liquidity to the point where you're able to buy anything on a web shop with it or go to the store. So that's not going to work. The only thing that can potentially work is Bitcoin, and that's completely separate. It doesn't matter what the president wants. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that can only be created. And so that's what Dylan Leclerc is also replying here. to the Federal Reserve. So people are shocked about this because, again, the president is not supposed to set the interest rates. And these institutions, even though they have been dysfunctional, they're going to be a lot more dysfunctional if we have the president trying to change the interest rates because he wants to create short-term economic growth. Now, they've been printing money. It has been somewhat okay because we still have an independent Fed. But if that's gone, it's just going to be max populism. It's just going to be like a Julius Caesar type figure that just controls all the institutions, and that is just going to set precedent for a dictator. And I sound a little bit like a leftist, but that is really how I see it. I think I think that if we're going to go this way and we're going to start strangling with the institutions, we're going to weaken the fiat system. We're going to weaken the economy. And the reason why the West is so rich is because we have these institutions, but destroying them makes us just poor. It makes us like freaking China, and I don't want that. So that is my personal beef with the president. But just the fact that these institutions are now becoming weakening, it means there needs to be an alternative because it's the US dollar. And that's when Bitcoin comes in. And that's also, we're seeing gold is having this massive rally. We're seeing, generally speaking, pretty strong correlation between Bitcoin and gold, at least in the last 10 years. So gold goes up, Bitcoin tends to follow. Gold goes down, Bitcoin tends to follow. So the gold is very high right now, and Bitcoin, I think, eventually is going to follow as well. So with this thing going on, people are saying, I'm the opposite of an alarmist, but it's worth noting exceptionally unprecedented a message like this is how badly things would have to be going for someone like Powell to say something like this. Yes, it's pretty insane. He's also clearly nervous. He's clearly afraid that he's going to be maybe going to jail, and that's why they made this video that got 40 million views already. Now, the average normie on the street probably doesn't really understand what this means, but if you are an investor and you are into Bitcoin and you are, you've seen the money printer, you really know where this is going to. And I also don't want to, as I said, I don't want to protect Jerome Powell or say that he has never done anything wrong, because he's been a degenerate and he has destroyed the economy by printing money, and he should have never done that. But still, what the president is doing is unprecedented. And if these institutions are weakening because we now just have a president that's going to decide the interest rates, it's going to make the US dollar a whole lot interesting to be used for global transactions. And in that case, we need an alternative. And it's not going to be gold. I think the only thing that's logical is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is already quite big. It's already $1 trillion. But we're still in this slop sideways action. I have no idea why we aren't pumping, but maybe this is just a sideways action, the calm before the storm. Let's actually see what happens. I mean, Bitcoin can go up in a week and it can just jump by 50%. This has happened before, so we're just going to have to wait. But I think this is going to set up Bitcoin to do something absolutely crazy, and it's not going to be something we should be happy about, because we don't want the institutions to collapse. We don't want the economy to collapse. We don't want civil war or civil problems. But if it does go up, and it does collapse, then there's only one alternative, I think, and that's Bitcoin. And then you're going to be in a much better position if you do have some Bitcoin than if you don't. Because if you don't, you're going to live in hyperinflation. And if you have gold, you can't do crap with it. You can't even freaking pay anything with it. So, yeah. Anyhow, that's going to be here at the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And, let's see what's going to happen with this in the coming few days. But I hope to see you guys here in my next video. Bye-bye.